One, two, this is test. Hi guys, today I'm going to show you how to install Mobx with Create React app. And we're going to create an application that will be using basic concept of Mobx, decorators, and some simple implementation of a store in React component. We will compare a little bit about React.js and Redux versus React.js and Mobx as well. So let's begin. We want to install React. We want to create a React application in our folder. This is the official Git repository. And we want to copy this command and paste it here. Let's create it Mobx blog. While this is installing, in the process, I'm going to use yarn versus npm as in the official documentation of Mobx. It is using npm. I'll be using yarn, which is has a slight difference with between Node, and it's basically linking applications, linking the packages inside the application without downloading them again if this version of the package available in the cache folder of yarn. We can run yarn start to see our application. At some point it will load. Brilliant. And this is our application. Right, let's open it in code. Visual Studio. For small applications, I like to use Visual Studio Code as it has it's very lightweight and has a lot of functionality out of the box, coloring. But for heavy applications, I prefer to use PHP Storm as it has a lot of Git functionality and many other very useful functions just out of the box already installed. While at some point with plugins we can make Visual Studio very advanced as well. But my preference is PHP Storm. You can use whatever you like. And let's install Mobx in our application. And we'll do Mobx.js. So we have to install two packages from the official documentation, and one is Mobx and the other one is Mobx React. Okay. Yarn add Mobx. And yarn add Mobx React. You can use Mobx in any other application you like Angular, Vue, or in a simple pure JavaScript library for state management. It's very, very powerful, and with decorators that we are going to install in a bit, it becomes very straightforward and very easy to use. So we can remove this console and What we want to do now is to prove that we installed Mobx in our application. And we will import this is example with decorators, which we will install in a bit, and I will show you how we can install the top, decorate, and observable. This is a very good example. This could be a store, and this could be could be a store, and this is a decorator that will make every attribute in this class, which would be stored in our application, as observable. So to do this, we can add our store or add name equals and names, which is an array. That is right. And now we want to make them available as Mobx. So we want to decorate the class and every function, every attribute. Decorate my store. Yeah, name observable and names observable. Now, of course, we want to use this in our application in here. What we can do, we'll create a function that will add name to our observable, to our store of names. And I'm using our function, and the difference is that we don't need to bind this in the end of the function comparing to any other function we would do it this way, or if we would just declare it as function. Our functions in ES6 allow us to keep this attribute to the actual class, not to the function itself. And we will add one div and a button add name, which from click will go to add name. And just for simplicity, for now, name will be a simple hard-coded value with a random number. So before we do this, we need to instantiate our our store to use it in our application, in our component. To use this, we need to make this class as observer, and to do this we need to import, of course, this observer from Mobx React. Small alignment. What we would do, observer is a function and it is a wrapper for our our component. So if we save and refresh, add name is not defined. That's right, because it is this.admin. Brilliant. Now to use this in our app as well, we need to inject it in our application, in our component. And to do this, we will import one more function, which is called inject. And it's better to show you how inject actually works. To do, and we need to inject. Okay. I don't remember where the function, where the official documentation is, but this is how you would use inject. Inject, and as a parameter, you add your store, which would be, in this case, my store would be new my store. Now to inject this, we need to add it to your provider, and provider is a high order component. So in the very beginning of the application where we render, we want to add one more wrapper. Import provider from Mobx React. And this high order component will wrap provider. It will wrap our application and pass in stores as whatever we want. Now to do this, before we do this, let's remove this, and what we want to do is to export my store. We have a single tool, just to make it a bit cleaner. And yes, index. Now we need to import the store. From our app. This is for this tutorial. This is a very quick way and dirty, but in your big application, you would move this in its own file in a stores folder. And we want to instantiate this. Now there are two ways to do this. One would be create a constant minus store and pass the store in the provider. Yes. Which will be available as my store. after we inject it. Now this, let's just reorder this. This is the first component that gets hit when the application starts. It has a provider which is supplied by Mobx React, and it takes as parameters different stores. It can be any variable, any attribute that will be passed by this value into this function. It will be available inside this function, and we need to refer as my store, which we named as here my store. Here my store AB, just to prove the concept. Sometimes we get confused with naming convention. So this my store AB is correct. It can find my store as variable in here. Now we just remove this, and now we can console my store. And we should see that my store is, this is a Mobx observable object, which has name and names available as array and a string. These are different types that Mobx is wrapping around on names array to listen for changes. We're not going to go in this step, but we have our job done. Now what we can do is to click add name and add an attribute to this component to our store. We can do the const store and store.name equals, and now we did it. Of course, we don't see any changes because in our component we're not using this variable at all anywhere. Now every time this variable will be changed, our component will listen to this change as long as we have a reference to this variable in our component. Now let's add a name. Let's print this name. And name will be store.name. Now it is empty, but we can see that it rendered it once, and add name will add the string to the component, to the store. We'll set it to on the store, and our component will re-render once with a name set. That's brilliant. Now comparing to React, this is much more straightforward and easy to follow. Mobx by itself provides a lot of the functionality out of the box regarding listening to functions or any changes that happen on arrays or objects, or you can listen to even to functions themselves. Like if you have a computable value of the sum of the store, it will provide you with this one value in your component when it listens to a change on a variable, even if we wouldn't be referring to this variable, but we would have a function of a computable listening to this. It would print it in the end of the our component. Now, before we dive into this, let's finish our index page. And here I prefer to write const stores equals and my store new my store. I will remove this, and this will be passed as stores. I think it's 3, is it? Oh no, sorry, this is it. And voila. Now stores is passed as an object and it has all the variables inside. This way we could create 1, 2, 3, 5 different stores and pass them inside provider. And in this provider we could have in the app component actually inside we could have 10 different um, React components that would be that would get and inject over different stores inside, and it would work like an import from the top, but in a more smart way. Now, this is how we can do this with uh, decorators and using Mobx as functions. Now, sorry, we can't use as decorators yet. It's just a function, and we want to introduce the new feature of ES6, which is still in beta decorators. To do this, we need to, unfortunately, we will need to eject our application because decorators are not supported by React out of the box yet. So what we need to do is React this yarn eject, and it is yes. Now we need to install decorators, and to do this that is not it. What we need to do is